Gait data right now. First you open the PGMath file, double click the user ID section. You'll autofill with the password, hit OK, hit select test, select the test that you'd like to process for. In this case we would run as process TP30SW. Select the walk number that you'd like to process, hit open, process walk, go to the first step, that's the first step. Hit fast forward so that you can play it more quickly, clear the screen, do the same again, clear the screen, and so on. And that's done. And now we'd like you to export these individual walk files. And so you do that most conveniently using a mouse recorder function, which is in this left side of the desktop. You hit open, there's one that has been pre-recorded. It's called for MoveMet Export gfiles.smr. Hit OK, open, and then you hit play, and it will just automatically run through the whole process of these mouse clicks that you have to do individually for each row. This only works if you have this exact number of rows, so 13 rows. If you have more rows, you'd have to record another mouse recording script. Note that sometimes the mouse recording script doesn't always work, so you'd have to manually export the files. For example, for this preferred unqueued walk, you'd have to do that manually by yourself. So hit replay and then hit save, export the file, save, close. Now that those files are all exported here, you can see that they're all here. You should cut them and put them into a separate folder where they are labeled by their subject number, in this case 74, and place them there. And now we'd like you to convert them from a Unicode format to an ASCII format. These files cannot be opened at the moment because they're in Unicode format. So to do that, go to the data analysis folder on this left side, double click convert Unicode to ASCII tab, delimit. It will say macros have been disabled, hit options, enable this content, hit view, go to macros, view macros, run, and then go to where you saved your file, that folder that we talked about just now. So that was there in PGMath 74. Select all the files all together and it will run the macro automatically, converting them from Unicode to ASCII. After that's done, you have to rename the files such that they remove all the unnecessary time of testing information at the front, and also remove all the extra spaces which usually become troublesome when an analysis program tries to read it. So go to rename files, drag all these files to this left side here, and then trim the beginnings. So we have a pre-made script that helps you do that automatically. So you hit Program, Open, and Trim Walk Files, Open, Execute, and it will automatically trim everything, so it now works. So now all your files have been renamed. From there, you go ahead and create the LabVIEW wants files. These files simply let the LabVIEW program read the walk number. So that's where you save those walks that you processed just now in the first column. The tempo condition for that walk. The song name and the file path. The condition name. And these are just residual things that I copied over from somewhere else, so that you can ignore this for now. To create this file, you have to go to the data file. So each participant would have had a data file saved somewhere. They're always called something dat. So in this case, we want to go to 001 dat. Copy and paste the whole thing over there to the side here. So some of these will look confusing. They will look empty, but they're not actually empty, and that's because they are middle aligned or they have spaces in them. So simply remove the spaces by going Control F, find what is space so that you search for spaces, and then replace with nothing. So that will simply replace all the spaces in there. It will just remove all the spaces. And now I want you to copy the condition to D, column D, song name and path to column C, and you also have to fill in the tempo based on the song file name. So in this case, this was already been pre-made, so this can be a little bit tedious, but it's worth doing correctly. Note that here, because of issues with because during testing, the song file names, the song files were not renamed according to the correct tempo. It looks very inconsistent. So it's always worthwhile during testing, after you change the tempo, to rename the files to the correct tempo. So this has all been pre-made, so I'll leave that, but you get the idea. Also ensure that these files actually point to the correct folder. So for participant 001, for example, you want to make sure that this is the file for participant 001, and you also can make sure that you should make sure that these files do exist, these file names and path do exist. So one way to do that would just be to copy paste that into this, and you see that, yeah, that exists, and it's in ASCII. The LabVIEW wants files, you can go ahead and run the program that will sort the gait parameters according to the experimental condition. So it will pick out the gait parameter that you asked it to pick out according to the experimental condition. That's why in those LabVIEW wants files, you've very clearly stated the experimental condition. So if you hit that, it will ask you to get the conditions file, which you will have already pre-made. you an idea, the conditions files look, for example, like this. So the first column of the conditions file will have where you want to save the files. So these are, these are files that have not been created yet, but will be created by LabVIEW to save the gait parameters according to each condition. So that's, in this case, the condition was metronome, so with metronomes embedded, high groove, and at preferred walking rate. So you have that in the first column, and in the second column you have the actual experimental condition. So it's always important to keep those correct, and then save that into a stride length condition.txt file. Note that all of these files, all of these LabVIEW programs will always be calling txt files, so tab delimited files. It is not programmed to read Excel spreadsheets. It will only read these tab delimited files. So I'm just going to close that for now and go ahead and let LabVIEW read it. So hit open, and then it will ask you to choose or enter paths of files. So the multiple files, multiple LabVIEW files for all the participants that I've created for these participants 001 to 102, I'll go ahead and select them and hit OK. And it will ask me which gait parameter I would like to save in this case. And for this one, I would like to save column number 11 because I would like to get the stride length. That was the condition I asked for. And I'll go ahead and do that. And if we go ahead and open the program, open the file path, so that one, it'll have spit out all these files according to each experimental condition. Now it's pretty important to note that LabVIEW will take all those empty cells given by those files, those individual G files, and fill them in with zeros. So you want to remove those zeros. So the way to remove those zeros is simply to hit Control F and match entire contents. So find zeros and match entire contents and replace with nothing. So don't even hit a space bar. So just have that as usual, just nothing, and then hit replace all, and then hit OK. And then you save that. So Control S, save that. And do the same repeatedly for all of these conditions.